In the fortified vaults beneath NASA 2's central compound, alarms pulsed with sickly red light. The air stank of ozone and coolant. Rows of bioscreens flickered with distorted forest imagery. Trees blooming with faces, spores encoding old voices. Moss erupting over surveillance towers like rising tidewaters. Director Hochul stood unmoving in the silence of the crisis core, her face lit by a cold glow of an encrypted interface. "They've activated a seed," said one of the technocrats, barely concealing the tremor in his voice. Another added, "It's not just responding, it's remembering. Overriding filtration protocols, replicating pattern, entropy faster than the AI can stabilize." Hochul said nothing for a long time. Then, "Begin protocol. Burn protocol." Screens went black. Emergency systems engaged. The burn protocol was NASA 2's deepest classified failsafe, designed for the worst case scenarios where containment was no longer possible. It was just about forest incursion. It was about memory leakage, viral consciousness. "We isolate Zone 7D. Firestorm drones at 400 meters. Memory dampeners at full resonance. No survivors." "But Director, no witnesses, not even ours." Her tone was acidy and steady. Across the complex, technicians rushed to recode pacification drones. Teams in sealed suits prepared aerosol dispersal of cleansing spores, neurotoxins meant to kill moss, mind, and myth alike. But outside, on the edge of that very forest, the wind was no longer wind. It was whispering again. And what it whispered was her name, Hochul. Spoken by roots, by bark, by the earth itself. And it was not a greeting, it was a sentence. The fire came from the sky, not like rain, like judgment. A fleet of drones released their payloads above Zone 7D, bathing the treetops in napalm, threaded plasma. Forests screamed in frequencies no human could hear. Animals, spores, even insects, disintegrated mid-breath. Heat rippled shockwaves warped the air, curling trees into charred spirals. For 3 hours, the world forgot it had ever been green there. NASA 2's satellite feeds marked it cleansed. But what no one could explain was this. The fire burned, the structures fell, but the moss returned first, not in days, but in minutes. Lynn ran. She didn't know how long after the sanctuary erupted in green fury and marrow fell behind to draw the silver light's packs away. She fled into the sub-canopy tunnels. The memory seed pulsed against her chest, warm as ever. But she wasn't running away. She was being guided. Roots opened under her feet. Ferns bent in silent directions. The forest was thinking, rerouting her through its own pathways as the firestorms rolled in. She emerged on the edge of the burnt zone just as the last drone passed overhead, and she saw it, the crater grove, a place where forest and fire had met in a death embrace. Blackened earth still smoked. Air shimmered with toxin. And in the middle, untouched, a tree growing from the ashes, made of fire, black bark, and living moss, with eyes in its trunk watching her. The seed in her chest throbbed. She remembers. A voice spoke, not aloud, but inside her. Not the seed, not the tree, the earth. Who? Lynn whispered. But she already knew. The moss beneath her feet stirred. From the ash, figures rose, burnt silhouettes wrapped in vines, their forms flickering with forest light. Echoborns reborn again. This time, they did not reach for her. They knelt. Behind her, the moss moved. Marrow limped from the trees, burnt but alive, his arm wrapped in ivy, eyes wide with awe. "Lynn," he said, "what did you do?" She didn't speak. Instead, she stepped into the circle of ash, knelt beside the new-grown tree, and placed her hand on its bark. And for the first time, she spoke back. "I remember." Reflecting information like a mirror, tuned to resonance. Reflections into a field pulled from language memory. Pattern and energy, sensing what is remembered. It's felt in the code where people have walked, in soul's memory from their life. The ice that tech buried, the living systems, it's all stored in the resonance field, vibrating beneath the surface. The resonance field is like a living radio wave, made of memory, emotion, and unspoken truth. You can't see it, but it's everywhere. Like a signal behind the song, like a mirror that catches echo. The moss knew before she did. It vibrated beneath her skin, subtle, like the tuning of a string, like the space between thunder and the memory of its sound. Lynn sat at the edge of the crater grove, eyes closed, seed warm in her chest. And she listened, not to the wind, not to the forest, but to the field. Reflecting information like a mirror tuned to resonance. It wasn't a voice, it wasn't a frequency. A memory field made not of data, but of pattern, emotion, and unspoken truth. Somewhere beneath her, a broken street ran through layers of soil, its pavement cracked and overgrown, its sensors long dead, but the code was still there. Every footstep that had ever passed through this place was recorded, not digitally, but energetically. The resonance remembered. A child's laughter, a mother's grief, a soldier's hesitation, a girl named Lynn, born from a line that was once touched with moss and with reverence. It was all there. The field pulled memory like reflections into a pond, not at random, but in song. It whispered, not in words, but in feeling. You can't see it, but it's everywhere, like the signal behind the song, like a mirror that catches echo. She stood slowly, heart beating in rhythm with something vast. Around her, the moss responded. It grew toward her feet, rippling like a wave. Her breath synced with the pulse of the forest. The seed inside her didn't just hum, it sang. And in that song, Lynn felt everything. The buried tech frozen in northern tundras, still whispering algorithms no one hears. The living systems once ignored, now blooming with coded memory. The ice, the salt prints left behind by ancestors who had no words for what they knew. And somewhere in that resonance, she sensed a lie, woven deep into NASA 2's firewalls. Something hidden, a signal forged to suppress this memory, a silencing wave. She reached for it without moving, and the resonance reached back. In the halls of NASA 2, deep beneath the sealed ThoughtNet archives, warning lights flickered, not for heat, not for breach, but for signal fluctuation, an unauthorized echo rippling across secured consciousness channels. We've got a leak, muttered a tech, but there's no transmitter. Director Hochul stood in silence, and far away beneath ash and root, Lynn opened her eyes. They were not the same. Director Hochul stood before the archive core, deep beneath NASA 2's Arctic compound, staring into the projection of the resonance anomaly report. Line after line of raw data scrolled like falling leaves, unreadable to most. But she saw the fracture, not in the signal, in the truth. How long have we known? She asked. The archivist beside her, wrapped in sterile white and visor-shielded glasses, hesitated. Since phase 2 of Project Silence. And you scrubbed it? She asked. We scrubbed what we could, but the seed net is spreading. Every time someone makes contact with a Class C organism in the field, the memory rebounds. The forest is copying them, reflecting them. Hochul's lips pressed in hard. Quiet line. She turned away from the screen. Then it's not just parabiotic resonance. It's reflective memory binding. Worse, said the archivist, it's ancestral recall. The field is activating embedded lineal memory. Experimental data passed through the epigenetic code. The moss isn't just remembering, it's unlocking what we tried to bury. Project Silence was never about stopping a virus. It was about stopping a memory. The whisper glass wasn't a communication tool. It had been a recording device. Organic, distributed, hidden inside itself. Life itself. Every tree, spore, fungus, and creeping moss across the wet eastern wilderness had become part of a collective memory field. We called them eco-terrorists. Hochul said quietly, but they were just remembering too much. The truth had been inconvenient. That the whisper glass didn't distort reality, it restored it. that the moss people hadn't disappeared into madness, but into a higher form of recall that the land itself refused to forget. So they created the burn protocols, the biosignal blockers, the wild dream syndrome vaccine, all not to heal the body, but to sever it from the memory field. And now, the girl, Lynn, said to the archivist, voice thin, she is in direct resonance. Then initiate lockdown theta. Director, if we can't suppress the memory, we can't contain the carrier. But deep inside the code, where the whisper glass signal ran beneath even their quantum firewalls, a phrase kept reappearing, uncalled, unlogged, and unauthorized. You cannot burn a memory that lives. And far away in the moss-drenched wilds of old Virginia, Lynn opened her eyes. She knew what they were hiding, and now so did the forest.